Hey everybody, Tony D with another hot take. The Biden fallout continues, which is amazing. People are talking about the "you ain't black" comment. You ain't black enough. Apparently, Biden knows. Biden's had to come out and apologize. Bad move, Biden. But there was really no good moves in this for you, so I guess that's just as good as any of the other things you've done. Can't see him recovering from this. I gotta think that he's lost a good section of the vote from people who are black and right on the fence about voting for him, maybe thinking about voting for Trump. This has got to push him right off that fence into Trump's camp, I think, because the comment was pretty offensive, and it kind of shows you where his head is at, and it's in the early '60s, pre-civil rights. It sounds like, he even said during that interview, prisoners can't read, which was an odd comment. I think in the early '60s maybe that would have been partly true, but certainly not in 2020. Joe Biden is just too old. He's just too old for this gig. And it feels like at every step of the way, he just gaffes and gaffes and gaffes. I think H.A. Goodman has been calling Hillary Clinton as the nominee for a long time, and I'm really beginning to believe it again, because they can't put up Bernie. Bernie will lose. He'll lose almost every single state, except maybe California, and that's just not enough, right? I mean, yeah, the hardcore communist will be super stoked, but you can't get the average moderate to vote for Bernie Sanders. You just can't, thankfully. So they can't put him up. He's just too big of a loss. Biden is looking worse and worse and worse. Now, he's not looking worse in the mainstream media, but you have to imagine that they're just pumping him up. They're just lying about his stats. I'm firmly convinced that when it comes to political polls, when it comes to, Democrat versus Republican, you have to give it a few points to the Republicans in every single poll, easy, because everybody connected to entertainment and a lot of these polls, unless they're a right-wing think tank or something, they tend to be skewed towards Democrats. They just are. It's people who are in urban areas, people who are in sort of elite positions. They just tend to be on the left, and they tend to want to see Democrats win. So it wouldn't surprise me at all. And there's no way to check these guys. If you make calls, if you're doing a phone survey, you make calls in the right areas, the kind of response you're going to get. If you call the richest area in your town, chances are they're going to be a lot of red callers, right? They're going to be for Republicans because they got lots of money, and they got opinions about why taxes are too high because they pay a lot of taxes. And then if you call, a poorer section, they're going to tend to be more Democrat, unless you call in the Ozarks somewhere. We're talking New Jersey here. So I don't trust these polls at all. I think they're all skewed towards Democrats by at least 3 or 4 points. And, maybe even more. And I don't see it as a cabal of people trying to, I just see it as individuals thinking to themselves, wow, I work at this polling station, and man, I really hate Trump. I'd really love to see Biden win. Let me just not report those last few calls. I want to make sure Biden at least wins this survey. Why wouldn't you do that? Now, you might say, well, maybe some people are honest. Yeah, some people are. Some people are too honest to do that. And maybe there's some checks and balances. They don't want to get caught and lose their job. But I'll tell you a story. I worked for a short time in an insurance company as a temp. I was a temp. I was not an employee. I was a temp assigned for the day. And on my first day, they had me figuring out their clients' car insurances. I had no experience doing that, and I felt very uncomfortable figuring out people's car insurance. I wasn't fully clear on how to do it, and it was my first day, and yet they let me do it. So I picked the cheapest rate for every person I had to, figure out. I would just, if I couldn't, I would look on the chart and there was like a certain way to do it, but if I couldn't figure it out, and I couldn't figure it out for a lot of them, I just put the cheapest rate every single time. It was just faster anyway. I got done a lot faster. And people saved money on their car insurance. See? I was the original Geico lizard. I didn't get fired, by the way. Never got talked to about it or reprimanded. I worked there for months, giving people cheap car insurance. So I don't see how a polling place would be any different. If you assign one of your grunt workers to do a bunch of calls and he's got to do 500 calls in a day, are you really going to check every call and make sure he's doing it accurately? Maybe you just check the whole batch, and if it jibes with what you thought was going to be or it's close, you're going to make them all do it all again. You got to get work done too. And if it's the result your Democratic client wanted to hear anyway, so sounds to me like you really can't trust those polls. I remember taking a poll for Howard the Duck in the mall, and these two hot girls came up to me and my friends and, oh, you want to watch Howard the Duck and take a poll? And we were like, yeah, and pretty much would have said yeah to anything they offered. And so we went in and we watched the trailer and we filled out some stuff, and we answered questions. They filled it out. And so they would ask things like, how old are you? And I said, well, this is how old I am. Well, can I say you're between 33 and 43? And I was just like, I guess. Yeah, sure. And they just made stuff up. They made up our answers, essentially. We were the totally wrong demographic, but we wanted to see the trailer, and they just wanted to get their work done. They were getting minimum wage in the mall, and we got to see Howard the Duck's trailer, and they got to fill out their stuff quicker, and it was totally inaccurate. So, that's why I don't trust polls. Now, you could say that that's not the same thing, and maybe the polling station that does political stuff has much more stringent measures. I kind of doubt it. Because at the end of the day, what are they paying those people to take those polls? I don't think they're paying them much more than those girls in the mall. So, I think Biden is done. I think probably the next best bet is Hillary. I wouldn't put her up. I think she's a monster. But it can't be Bernie. I think the other guys are too low on the totem pole for the DNC to back them fully. Pete Buttigieg would have been the good call. He probably still would have lost against Trump, but at least he would have been a very respectable run. Now you're going to have either Biden or Biden just gaffing away, and Trump's biggest problem in the debate is which gaffe to focus on, which thing to zing him with. It'll just be a massacre. But if it's Hillary, he'll just have to go back to what he did the last time. He'll just prowl around the stage. She'll go after his record, and I guess accuse him of being a Russian spy because that works so well, or being a Ukrainian spy, or whatever the Ukrainian thing was against Trump. I don't see it happening. We're going to have 4 more years of Trump, people, okay? I know some of you out there are like having a nervous breakdown, but look, he is an 80s Democrat. He is what Democrats used to be. He hasn't changed. The party has changed. And it's time for the Democratic Party to just take it on the chin, be knocked out, just knock it out. And maybe it'll come back in a new form, and if it doesn't, a different party should step up. The Libertarian Party, perhaps.